It's time for Growth Profits. You will not want to miss today's episode. We have an international expert on genuine influence. This will be a good one, folks. Stay with us. Hi, folks. I'm Sean Crabtree.
And I'm Cameron Bailey.
Welcome into Growth Profits.
Coming to you live each week.
We don't want to change the way you do business.
We want to change the way you're thinking about your business.
We want you to have better results, happier clients, and make more money.
Let's get it started.
Welcome into Growth Profits, the show that is all about you having happier clients, better results, making more money, and enjoying the ride. Today, I am so happy to have an international speaker and an expert on one of our favorite topics that we talk about consistently on this channel, and that is what he calls actually genuine influence. I am so happy to have author, international, best-selling author, international speaker, Bob Burg. Bob, welcome in, sir.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
Listen, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know that the latest book is going to be a massive success, and I can't wait to dive in and talk about that. I very much have enjoyed this book. It's called The Go-Giver Influencer. But before we talk about the Go-Giver Influencer, for those in my audience that don't know you, okay, tell us a little bit about Bob. How did you get in this? How did you get your start, Bob?
Well, I actually began as a broadcaster, first on radio.
Which is no surprise because you had this wonderful, and by the way, if you're listening to this and you hear this voice, I've been listening to this voice in my Audible, with Bob narrating this book, and he does a fantastic job. It doesn't surprise me that you were a broadcaster.
Thank you. So started on radio in sports, and then I got a job actually on TV doing in Mid-America, a very small ABC affiliate, doing the news, first the morning news, and then I worked my way up to the late night news anchorship, and wasn't really particularly good at it. I was 24 years old and really had no knowledge of the news and really no interest of the news at that time. Didn't make for a great combination. I could read the news, but that was about it. I was probably a little too positive for the medium anyway. My idea of a good news opening would have been something like, "Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Burg in the news tonight. Everything's great. Go to bed. I'll let you know if something comes up." And, I wasn't really long for that. So I found myself in sales. I like to say I graduated into sales. The challenge was that I knew nothing about sales. So I found in the training where I first worked was negligible at best. So I floundered for a few months until I was in a bookstore and I was in the business section and there were books on sales, which just shocked me. I had no idea that was even a thing. I just thought you knocked on doors or made calls, talked about your product or service and hoped to get the sale. I mean, I really did not know this was something. And I remember I got books by Tom Hopkins and Zig Ziglar. And this is almost 40 years ago now. And within a very short period of time, my sales began to go through the roof. Now, I took those books home and I studied them for hours and hours. I took notes and highlighted and underlined, and I practiced and I drilled and I rehearsed. In fact, that was one of the things Tom Hopkins said, PDR, practice, drill, rehearse. So, and then I applied the information, very, very important. And my sales, again, started to go well. So I kind of knew I had a thing there. And really I was following a system is what it was, a methodology. To this day, I define a system as simply the process of predictably achieving a goal based on a logical and specific set of how-to principles. The key is predictability. If it's been proven that by doing A, you'll get the desired results of B, then you know that all you need to do is A and continue to do A, and eventually you'll get the desired results of B. Once I had that, I had a lot more confidence. And then I began to really start studying and learning. I'd get all the regular sales books of the time, including most of them that were not the how-to ones, but more the building on the inside books, the How to Win Friends and Influence People, Think and Grow Rich, As a Man Thinketh, Psycho-Cybernetics, The Magic of Thinking Big, all these just fantastic books that helped build me on the inside. And eventually I worked my way up to sales manager of a company and began doing or teaching others how to do what I was doing. And it kind of morphed into a speaking business.
And
And
you
from there,
speak internationally. I mean, you speak all over the place, like I
mhm,
do.
yep.
And you know, I love everything you just said there. You graduated into sales. Really good stuff. You and I share a lot of the same background. Um, Building on the inside. You know, I love this book, the book that you have now, Go Giver, Gogiver, Go Giver, Influencer. This is the fourth book, but the third book in the Parable series, right?
Right. Hmm.
The third book in the Parable series. So we and I'll be honest with you, I wish I had discovered you long ago, Bob. I so enjoyed this book. The cast of characters, Jillian and the coach, and Jackson, Jackson and the judge. And I'm not going to give away the twist at the end because that was a little bit of a shocker for me. I wasn't expecting that. I see how it very well fit into where you were trying to go. I really enjoyed it. But the Go Giver is a movement. I mean, it's not just about this book. It's a movement, right? Tell us about that.
Thank you. Well, when John and I came up with the idea for this,
And
John
that's your
David
partner,
Mann,
John David
yeah,
Mann.
John David Mann, who is the lead writer and storyteller. I mean, he's the genius with the pen or with the keyboard, I guess you would say. And we really, we wanted to present a story that, the basic premise of the Go Giver, the first one, and really the whole Go Giver methodology or philosophy, what have you, is simply that by shifting your focus from getting to giving. And when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing value to others. And that doing this is not only a nice way, a pleasant way of conducting business, it's actually the most financially profitable way as well.
It's the most
Not
beneficial.
for some, yeah, and not for some woo-woo way out there reason, but actually very logical, concrete reasons. When you think about it, and I often say this when I speak at a sales conference, I'll begin by saying that nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. Right? They're not going to buy from you because you need the money, and they're not even going to buy from you because you're a really, really nice person, right? They're going to buy from you only because they believe they'll be better off by doing so than by not doing so. And that's the only reason why they should buy from you.
Which is value creation.
Value creation.
It's all about value creation. And so that is a bonus sentence. If you're listening to this, we spend a lot of time talking about value creation. And I love one of the ways that you frame it, among many ways that you frame it, but one of the ways that you frame it in the Go Giver is it's a collaboration. It's a collaboration, right?
Yeah, and one of the and we knew when we talked about the Go Giver influencer, and part of it is the negotiation process that we talked about, that people would say, so are you really talking about compromise? And the answer is no, we're not.
Right.
Now there's a time and place for everything, of course, but we don't want compromise to be the first option you go toward. Why? Because compromise, and one of the mentors, as you mentioned, there are two mentors and two proteges. One of the mentors, Coach George, said to Jillian, his protege, that, and he said this jokingly, of course, he said, compromise comes from the Greek for nobody actually gets what they want.
What they want, right?
Right. Nobody feels good about it. Right. Now, it's not really what it means, but
that was kind of like his definition, right?
Right. And so, but really that is compromise when you think about it, because by the very nature of the thing, both parties are giving up something. You're giving up something in order to just sort of placate and make it happen, even though you'd really rather not. Okay. So again, time and place for everything, but that's not a good first option. It's a lose-lose. It's a shrinking of the pie. On the other hand, collaboration means you're looking for ways to benefit the other person and, of course, yourself. And collaboration expands the pie for everyone. It's 1 + 1 = 3. It's actually, when you think about it, collaboration is the the main characteristic of a free market-based exchange. And when I say free market, I simply mean no one's forced to do business with anyone else. So in a true free market-based exchange, there are two profits: the buyer profits and the seller profits, because each of them come away better off afterwards than they were before. That's collaboration. That's building value across the board.
Bob, I love what you're saying. I totally agree with you. I love the way you're framing it. There's an audience to this channel. You and I have spoken to different groups, direct sales groups, but there's an audience portion on this channel who perhaps maybe still has some sort of a mental aversion, for lack of a better word, to the concept of sales. And that is why I really enjoy this book. I think it would be very limiting to look at the Go Giver as a negotiating tool simply, because it really is about influence. It totally is about influence, i.e. what I believe the substance of influence is what you just said. It's value creation. And so I think if I'm listening to what you're saying, and I've not fully embraced at the highest level the concept of sales. I mean, in other words, what I'm trying to say is there are entrepreneurs out there who consider themselves as the job of what they do technically in their business or tactically in their business, and it's much bigger than that. I have to adopt the mindset of influencer, and to be able to do that, collaboration, it is a give and a take it, absolutely. And that's, to me, that's the substance of what you're saying.
Yeah, can I mention something
Please.
about sales? Because you're absolutely right. And there are people who get into a business because they're just passionate about the thing itself.
The pizza that they make in their pizza business.
And they do something really well, and they just love it. And they love the value they can bring to others and how they can touch other people's lives. But they don't want to think of it as a business. And even if they do, they don't want to think of it that they have to sell their services. But that's only because sales, the word, is looked at. If you begin with a false premise, then all the logic in the world isn't going to be able to help you reach a correct conclusion. So let's look at what selling really is, because many people think it's about trying to convince someone to buy something they don't want or need. And that's not selling.
No, that's manipulation.
It's manipulation. It's called being a con artist.
That's right.
And so, which is part of manipulation. No, selling by definition is simply discovering what the other person does want, need, desire, and helping them to get it. The Old English root of the word sell was selan, which meant to give. So literally, when you're selling, you're giving. Now, someone might say, well, wait a second, that's clever and all, but isn't that just really semantics? And I would say I don't believe so, and here's why. Let's say you have someone in front of you and you're about to present your product or service to them. Okay, you are in the selling process. So you're selling, you're giving. Well, what exactly are you giving them? I suggest you're giving them time, attention, counsel, education, empathy, and most of all, significant value. That's selling. So you should be proud of being in sales. But it's all a matter of how you define the thing in the first place.
And it's all about what is going on between your own ears. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. I told somebody the other day, not liking sales because you have a reference that's negative for a person who was in sales, but not liking the actual profession because of that is like not liking food because Bernie Madoff eats it. Doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's very, very well said. It also hurts your business if you have a bad feeling about selling, because the fact is, on an unconscious level, at least, that you are selling. And if you don't feel good about it and you're a good person, which you are, you're not going to allow yourself to do something successfully that you think is inherently wrong. If you don't believe in selling, you're losing sales because of it. So that's why I'm going to ask that you really reframe what selling is and utilize the correct definition, which means it's all about the other person.
That is very beautifully said. Very beautifully said. I've also found that those who have not completely embraced it at the heart level tend to show up the absolute way that they are afraid of showing up in the first place. In other words, because they don't put their whole heart into it, they come across a little bit as manipulators because that's not, their heart's not in it, and it's the very thing that they're trying not to do. Very good words, sir. Very good. Lots of good wisdom there. Lots of good wisdom. So I love, the, I'm not going to give away the twist at the end of the book. Am I the only one who said there was a little twist, or do you hear that a lot? Do people, I didn't expect that.
Well, we kind of do that, and when I say
Okay.
we, I mean John, because I could never think of something like that. That's his brilliance when he does that. Like, well, how do we work this thing out? And all of a sudden, he sends me this thing, and it's like, well, what do you think of this? I'm like, it's brilliant, and I get like half the credit for it.
Well, I won't give away the twist, but I started to pick up on. I will give this part away. I started to pick up on after probably the second one. There are two main characters, the judge and the coach, who are walking through these 5 brilliant each one of them calls it something different, but it's the same thing, right? And so the coach is talking in terms of breathe, listen, smile, be gracious, and trust. But then the judge is breaking it down into mastering your emotions, which coincides with breathe. Step into the other person's shoes, which is listening. I love the way you lay this out. Set the frame, which is smiling. Communicate with tact and empathy. Be gracious. Let go of having to be right, which is trust. I love that. Now, you've been teaching these principles for quite some time.
Oh yeah, this is it's really it's really my life.
And the thing I think that's so beautiful about this, I at any one time I've got 2 or 3 books that I'm going on at the same time with Audible, and I usually have a different book that I'm reading, and I just do my best to soak this stuff up. But as I'm listening to The Go-Giver, which again you did and John David and his wife, you guys did a great job narrating this. But as I'm listening, I am seeing, as you said, gosh, this is negotiation. This is influence. This is relationships on your team. This is, this is everything. This is the crux of it all.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me that you feel that way. Thank you.
This is really good stuff. I'm curious to know, what are the, in coaching this philosophy over the years, mastering emotions. And I'm going to look at these 5. Mastering emotions, stepping to the other person's shoes, set the frame, communicate with tact and empathy, let go of having to be right. Which are the ones that you think people have the most trouble with?
Oh, it would be mastering one's emotions. And that's
I knew you were going to say that. I found the same thing. That's interesting.
Yeah. And people often say that to me after I'm through with a talk. That's one reason also why we put it first, because the whole thing about influence is understanding it's not about us. It's about tapping into another person's wants, needs, desires, their challenges, what they're looking to accomplish. It's about them, but it begins with us. Right. Because unless we can master our own emotions, we're not even in a position to take a potentially negative situation or person and turn it into a win for everyone involved. Okay.
So Bob, throw some knowledge here. I'm an entrepreneur in the service industry, and I'm listening to you and I'm learning these principles. What are the how-to? Give some insight for somebody who's not read the book. Mastering Your Emotions. I believe the same thing. I think everything stems from that. And if you don't learn to master your emotions, there's no way you're going to learn to master everything else. Right. So how do you do that?
Okay. Well, one thing, what makes it hard to do this is that we're human beings. And as human beings, we are emotional creatures, right? We're built that way. We'd like to think we're logical, and to a certain extent we are, but we're pretty emotion driven. We make major decisions based on emotion, and we back up those decisions with logic. We rationalize, which if you break up the word means we tell ourselves rational lies. And we do this to justify that we made a decision that we know wasn't really the right decision, or that we lost our cool when we really shouldn't have, and it was counterproductive. But we don't want to blame ourselves, and so it's easier to rationalize. Well, we're not saying that you should deny your emotions or that you should forego your emotions. Absolutely not. Emotions are a wonderful part of life. They bring us joy. They make life worth living. But what we're saying is, make sure you're the master of they're not the master of you. Or as one of my great mentors, leadership authority Dandi Scumaci puts it, by all means, take your emotions along for the ride,
But don't let them drive.
Right. Make sure you're driving the car. Your emotions need to be in the passenger side. One of the things you can do, and this is something I started because years ago I had real anger issues, and I needed to overcome this. I needed to learn how to master my emotions. And what I did is I would build on my small successes, and I'd start with picturing the types of things that would upset me, that I would cause myself to be upset by. And then when I say upset, it could be frustrated, could be defensive, could be angry, or what have you. And so picture this happening. Picture that person at the office, or that customer, or that person in your personal life who says or does things that just push your buttons and you cause yourself to be upset, and see yourself getting upset and how that feels afterwards. And it probably doesn't feel very good. Now I want you to picture the opposite. I want you to picture that person saying or doing the same thing, but I want you to imagine yourself just handling it beautifully,
gracefully.
a sense of calm about you, and you don't interrupt them. You hear them out, and you say the perfect words. And don't worry about those words right now. That we can get to, but and I want you to get that picture of what that's like and how good you feel about yourself afterwards. And then I want you to practice that. I want you to continue to practice, just like an astronaut before going up into space on a mission. He or she would do hundreds of simulations. Why? Because by the time they actually get up there in space, and heaven forbid something happens, they've already been there. They've done that, 100 times or whatever. So they know and they can handle it. Now, you say, well, it's not the same as being in space doing a mission. It's not the same handling a situation like that well as thinking. It's close enough, because we know, and of course, that the mind, the unconscious, the subconscious cannot distinguish between what is real and what has been suggested to it numerous times. So
it's very valuable. So you're saying connect the feeling to that first.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to enjoy the feeling of what that looks like, and then you can fill in the blanks of exactly how to make it work.
And we provide that too, as far as what to say, but that's the easy part. The first is just making sure you're able to master your emotions and set up that context.
Yeah. I love, and I don't want to skip over that, because what you said is something that we spend a lot of time talking about when it comes to influence on our channel and all the videos we do. And what you said is this: we as human beings make decisions emotionally, and then we rationalize them by backing them up with something that involves logic, right? That is extremely important, and that goes with everything. And if you're listening to this, you have to understand that the things that you do in your business tactically are not necessarily appealing to the emotions, and your job to be able to create value is to find out emotionally what it is that person wants, then show them how the thing that you have is going to get them what they want emotionally. Would you agree with that, Bob?
Yeah, and then you back that up with logic as well to them. So they make the decision's going to be made emotionally, and it needs to also be backed up with logic. So they're able to tie in, as you said very eloquently, you tie that emotion into the logic.
Bob, you have thrown so many good things on us. I really, really enjoyed the book. Really good book, a great parable. And this is the man who wrote it right here. Bob, if, as a parting thought, if I am new to you, if I'm new to the go-giver mentality, what is the one summation thing that you think I need to take away that you've been teaching folks over the last 30 years? There's so many.
Well, no. I mean, I think there is an overriding. Thank you, I appreciate that. But I think there is an overriding principle that the degree of influence you have is going to be that degree to which you place other people's interests first. And when we say other people's interests first, not in a way that's self-sacrificial or martyrish or doormatty, not at all. It's simply understanding that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to and allow themselves to be led or influenced by those people they know, like, and trust. And there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you in others than by genuinely and authentically moving from that I focus or me focus to the other focus. Or as Sam, one of the mentors in the first story, told Joe, the protege, making your win all about the other person's win.
Awesome. Good stuff. And what a note to leave on. Bob Burg, international author, or best-selling author, international speaker. This is the third book in the Parable series, Go Giver, Influencer. So many great things, so many great takeaways here. Really good stuff. Bob Burg. Bob, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it, sir. Thank you for imparting your wisdom on these guys. This has been Growth Profits. Make sure and leave your comments. The first 5 we're going to give you the Go Giver Influencer. This show that is all about you having happier clients, better results, making more money, and enjoying the ride. Thank you, Bob Burg. I'm Sean Crabtree. See you next time.